The story that I'm going to tell today is one of those stories of something that you do when you're a teenager or a younger adult, and it's one of those things that haunts you for the rest of your life. This story is about a secret that is kept by my sister and my brother and I from my parents. When I was 17 years old, I could not wait to get my license. I pretty much harassed my mother the day I was absolutely able to get my license about getting it and could not wait. Finally, she took me out for my road test. I passed and I had my license. I was so happy, super excited. I now just needed a car. Somehow my brother, who was a year younger than me, had a car, a perfectly good tan Buick sitting in the driveway that was going to go unused for probably a year, and I had no vehicle. I somehow convinced my parents, being the manipulative teenager that I could be at times, to let me use my brother's car for now until I could save up enough to buy my own car. They agreed. It was great. I was so excited. I was driving all over the place, carting all of my friends around, staying out past curfew. It was pure bliss. And sometimes I would even let some of my friends drive the car if I was sick of driving or tired or just didn't know where we were going. Of course, they had their license, and I trusted them, so it was fine, right? Well, one morning we were out. I was out with my two best friends. We were going to grab some breakfast, and I had let one of them drive the car because I didn't know where we were going at the time. And I don't even know how it happened. All I remember is a little bump. Slowest, tiniest little bump to the truck in front of us. And thinking to myself, what just happened? Fortunately for us, the person that we rear-ended, my friends happened to know. Thank goodness. And there was absolutely no damage to their car. So they let us go. They didn't want to call the police. They didn't need my insurance information. It was no big deal. You know, like I said, it was a tiny little bump. It didn't hurt their car at all. However, not the same for my little Buick. The hood of the Buick was crushed and it was bent upward. Definitely not something that I could fix. Definitely not something that I could hide. So this is where the panic set in. What was I going to tell my parents? I was completely panic struck, racking my brain of what was I going to tell my parents. This isn't my car. This is my brother's car. I definitely wasn't going to tell them it was a friend. Absolutely not. But being the creative teenager that I was, I found the perfect plan. I told my parents that I was driving on my way home and a squirrel ran out in front of the car, and I tried to avoid the squirrel. So I swerved and I accidentally hit a tree, but it's okay because I'm not hurt and nobody else got hurt, and I didn't hit another car. That was a great lie, right? Why wouldn't they believe that? No, my parents definitely did not believe me. But I stuck to that lie. Day after day after day, I repeated that story day after day after day to make sure that I did not get in trouble. And of course, I didn't, which is all I cared about at the time. Unfortunately for my brother, his car ended up being totaled. And to this day, this is a story that is retold in my life over and over and over again at all the family gatherings about how a terrible driver I was, which I, of course, reinforced with a few more accidents in my lifetime that we won't talk about right now. And my brother and my sister and I kind of giggle to ourselves every time my parents talk about how horrible of a driver I am and tell this story, because they know the truth. My sister and brother know the truth, and Of course, it wasn't me that drove the car into the tree, but it's a funny story to tell. Looking back on it, it could have definitely been so much worse, and I'm glad that it wasn't. And yes, my brother was very mad at me about totaling his car, but he still loves me. And so that is the story about the well-kept secret that my sister and brother and I have a pact to keep from my family.